Mm.
Okay. Yes, we're live. My name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Sehan. It's just another Thursday. I'm not crying. This is good. Had a rough couple days, just processing, but we are really good and excited to be with you guys here today with our really important guests who I just am starting to get to know and just had. I was on her show last week, Lily Nova, and some of you may be very familiar with her, and that's cool. I'm seeing all the people pop on here, and want to say thank you to you guys too. And also, yeah, please do share, tag, give us some love, do all the things. And we're really, really, I have not heard her story yet. So I try to like come in like completely fresh. I don't do too much, looking into anything. And I just have someone and then I hear it for the first time. So it's real authentic of connecting with that. And I don't know how much Craig knows about her, but how's it going, Craig? You've been out in the woods playing soldier out here.
Uh, a little bit. I'm actually away this weekend as well. That's why I can't join you. Because yeah, I'm doing some army stuff with some kids.
Army
Um,
stuff.
but no, it is absolutely bitterly cold here at the moment as well.
Really?
And it's like, I mean, to be fair to you in America, it's like -3 or something, but to us here, that's really cold. So if I put a jumper on halfway through, it's because it's getting cold.
Oh
But
my
yeah,
God.
other than that, everything's absolutely brilliant. Getting ready for Christmas. It's great to see you both. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Awesome. All
Yeah,
right.
thanks for having me on.
Yes. Well, I am excited to hear your story and and I guess maybe even meet you in real life one day because we're hoping to get to the Journey of Truth conference in May, which is going to be really exciting. So shout
Sounds
out
amazing.
to Journey of Truth, Tyler and Aaron. Love these guys so much. And but yeah, go to swiftfire.org. Definitely get on the newsletter. Then you know all the things coming up. Next week we have Anthony Stewart, who is over CARE, which is raindrop training. He is the son of Dr. David Stewart, quantum physicist, who wrote Healing Oils of the Bible, Chemistry of the Oils, and like he knows about frequency. Like, oh my gosh, this guy is amazing. I've done many, many meetings with him. And then the following week, we have Laura Eisenhower on for winter solstice. So we're going to talk about that. We have her yearly for that. And so really excited to, so you guys get on the newsletter, then when you know, and then we do have a membership that you guys can join us on. Lily's going to be joining us for a private meeting next month to do readings. And this week it's been, is it, are we doing, I don't know. This has been back and forth. I really wanted Craig to be there. So we're supposed to have Robert on to do
Yeah.
a Q&A about, all the things. So Robert is someone who yeah, we had him last week. Some of you are very familiar with him. Robert White, UFO in the backyard guy. So that's going to be fun too. So without further ado, I welcome Lily. Tell us everything. We want to know all of the tea. Like, let us know what happened. How did you get to this space that you're in? Literally space that you're in. I want to hear your story. So go for it.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So I started out as well a nutritionist, and I talked about this a little bit on our interview. I was a nutritionist. I taught nutrition and cooking classes for a university around the community. And once COVID happened, I started, we're in the middle of lockdown, and I started going out and shooting astrophotography, photos of space. So I get pictures of like galaxies, even Milky Way, all that stuff. And I just started spending every single night outside under the stars. And then
It's normal.
and while I was out doing that, I had my first really close UFO encounter. And then suddenly they were just popping up left and right, like UFOs everywhere I looked. And I began documenting them with my camera. And it was like they were trying to tell me something. They were trying to show me something. And so a communication with them began. And this is over the course of months. I've caught a lot of evidence that I've been on Coast to Coast with George Noory about it. There's news articles that have been written about it, featuring some of my evidence, like the Mirror and Lad Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And some of my evidence has been featured in TV shows like Paranormal Caught On Camera. So it started off as a very kind of like physical, documenting the evidence. And then I saw like my first ET being whenever it was the first night that I initiated contact with them. So it wasn't me just out there and then a UFO pops up. It was I initiated contact to see if it would work. And lo and behold, within 5 minutes, a golden orb appeared. And it was honestly like I was in tears that night because it was just such a beautiful experience. And this golden orb sent me a telepathic image of the inhabitants, of who these beings were. So that was my first look at them. And it was a woman with light blue skin. She had no hair. She had like a skin tight silver suit on, kind of like Star Trek looking. And she was very beautiful. She looked basically like a light blue model. And then there were crew members standing behind her. So after that, I just thought, wow, this is really cool. And I want to meet them, you know, and learn as much as I can. So a daily communication began, and I just spent every single day since talking to them, communicating with them. They taught me how to develop my psychic abilities. They taught me about DNA and how to activate our DNA and how special we are and that we all have star families. So that's what I do now is I help people connect with their star families and help them to activate their DNA. Because as you do that, you begin to develop all of these incredible gifts. It really pushes the boundaries of like what we think reality is. There's just so much more out there. It's pretty wild. So that's been my journey the past 2 years.
Wow. I was just going to say, one of my questions was going to be when you start, because I know a little bit about you in the sense of, I know that you've been taking pictures and you know, you have some amazing footage, because obviously the Daily Mirror over here had it. I remember it.
Do you?
Yeah, in the UK, yeah. And obviously Lad Bible as well. So my question was going to be, has this sparked kind of like a spiritual, I don't want to say awakening, but activation in you? But you pretty much just answered that. I mean, it was a lot more in depth than I thought it was going to be, to be honest.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it took me by surprise. Like, you know, I started having these really close encounters with UFOs. And then whenever communication began with them, it's like they took me under their wing and started teaching me. One of the first things that the star being, her name was Talia, that she told me was, your heart chakra needs some work and meditate. And I was just blown away that an extraterrestrial was telling me to work on my heart chakra. And it took me down a very, very spiritual journey. I was not expecting, you know, UFOs, and you see all the kind of UFO stuff and aliens and, you know, the mainstream. It wasn't like that at all. It was very, very spiritual.
You said her name is Talia?
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. So what all kind of things like really stand out to you over the last 2 years that are like deep takeaways from some of the things that they've said?
Well, some of the first things that they taught me was, you know, we are all one. We are all connected. And, you know, like even you and your neighbor, you're one. Even you and your partner, essentially, we're all one. So that kind of just blew my mind. That's pretty like kind of basic, but then whenever you get an actual really feel for it and understanding of it, you know, we all come from the same source. We're all one. And then they told me that time is also an illusion. The past, present, and future are all happening at once, simultaneously. I've explored a lot of my past or parallel lifetimes, and I've even been visited by extraterrestrial versions of me. Yeah, it's pretty mind bending. Talia, yeah, definitely the light blue woman that I worked with very, very closely. She was with me like each day, teaching me how to meditate, teaching me about the chakras, teaching me energy work, all of these things, and then also showing me kind of bits and pieces of history, like Atlantis, for example, ancient Egypt, all of these things, the importance of the pyramid. So just kind of showing me things like that. And after working with her for a few months, they finally told me that she was me. She was actually, yeah. And I just like cried. It's shocking. But what I'm finding is a lot of these beings are actually, they may be us from the future or from parallel lifetimes. Yeah, time is just really a wonky thing. But so a lot of these, if you ever see a UFO, you know, they're showing up to activate you, and it's probably your star family, and it could even be you from another dimension.
Wow. That's amazing. Because, I mean, you know, obviously we talk a lot about disclosure and, you know, government projects and all this kind of stuff, and sort of the deep, dark and wonderful things that have been going on. What I love about this is how kind of, what's the word, authentic it is. You know, nobody's confirming this for you. You're having your own experience. And I think, I personally, my opinion is that's how this is how it's going to happen. Is people are going to tell their stories, and it's going to happen in real time. And what I love, what encourages me about this is these beings want to make contact with us. They want to communicate with us. I mean, obviously, I'd imagine we have to get in a good space to have that. Would you go into that a little bit? Do you think you had to do any preparation within for this, or did it prepare you? You know, having the experiences. How did it sort of go that way?
Mm-hmm. Well, you definitely have to be open to it. Belief is another big part of this and the reality that we live in. You have to believe or be open to something, or you can't experience it. So being open is kind of like step one. And yeah, that I was teaching a lot in the beginning how to initiate contact. I still do with people's star families and UFOs. And some of the big keys that they taught me was you can use crystals. Crystals help. Raising your vibration. And because they're way up here, we got to meet them.
Yeah.
So that's a really, really big part of it. And getting into like a meditative state, or even like I wasn't meditating at all in the beginning. I was making contact while I'd go outside and watch sunset, or while I was stargazing, you know, just kind of getting in more of a relaxed state. And developing your psychic abilities is something that comes with it, but that's also very helpful because these beings are giving us ideas and downloads like all of the time. We just may not recognize it.
Wow.
Yeah, so those are some of the keys. Frequency music helps. You know, setting the intention is very powerful. You could say, you know, I asked to connect with loving beings of the highest love and light, or you can say my star family, you know, just being specific. And it's crazy how it goes a really long way, just setting an intention and asking.
So I have a question, because this is something that comes to me quite often. Is so some of you who know my story, I've had similar encounters, and in my field of work at that time, I was in ministry. So it wasn't anything like where you were outside kind of looking for it and, you know, looking at the stars. I'm not saying that you were looking for UFOs. You were just looking at the stars, but you were intentionally, you know, looking up, and then things happened. For me, in my experience, not counting Montauk, as an adult, I had just went into my bedroom and was actually just seeking God, and like I had been praying and fasting, and had taken a break from all leadership position. I'd quit my job and was just like going within. And I did that for a year, and went to my bedroom and had this I heard, put my hands up, put your hands up, put my hands up. And I felt this like liquid honey feeling come first at the tips of my fingers and then cover my entire body. I remember right before that moment looked at the clock, and it was like, I want to say 8:36. And then there was a bright light out the window, which I went to go see, like, what is that light? And then all of a sudden I lost 12 hours. And when I came back, I mean, I didn't know I came back. I didn't know. I couldn't understand what happened. All I know is I was sitting on the bed, and I had feeling immense love, like uncontrollable tears and just trying to like acclimate to whatever. And I didn't even realize that I had lost time yet. And then I looked at the clock and it was like 8:37 or something, you know, like just minutes had gone by in my mind, time, whatever time is. And I remember, oh yeah, I wanted to look outside the window and see what that light was. And so I like got up to go look at the light and realized that the whole outside was light. And then I was like, I don't understand. How can it be light? It was dark like just minutes ago. And then I walked around my house just really discombobulated. I'm getting emotional. And I was just, and all of a sudden I realized it was morning. Mm-hmm. And I had just missed that entire time. And, you know, I had to race to work. And at that time I was working at a bank, and I happened to be working at Jimmy, oh gosh, what's his name? Big time Southern minister here that had a whole campus and stuff. And our building was on that campus. I'm not remembering his name right now. It's going to come to me. Anyway, the lady that I could confide in was my high school friend who was working here. She had got me the job. And I was like, oh my God, this just happened to me. I'm totally freaked out. I don't know. I'm totally feeling crazy. I don't know what happened. And I'll have to like go to work now. And her response was, oh, you went into a trance. You know, that's like Mariah Woodworth-Etter. You should look her up. And I happened to be working in the building called the Mariah Woodworth-Etter building, which I knew nothing about this woman. And I, you know, Googled and looked her up, and she had turned out to be this minister who would travel and go places, and anywhere that she went, people would be like in these trances, like up to 2 miles away. And then hours would be missing, and then they would come back and they would be healed from whatever, or have these intuitions or all this stuff. So I was just like, oh, okay, that's God and blah, blah, blah. And then later was visited by these reoccurring beings, mostly when I needed to get a new job, or if I was pregnant. They always came every pregnancy and said, you're pregnant, and stood at the end of my bed, you're pregnant. And I would just, oh, you know, so I get the whole, like, I felt like I was going to die when they would show up. Like, it was always extremely fearful to the depths of my cells. And I've only seen a gray once, and that was equally feeling like I'm going to die, like so frightful. But the question is, like, at that time, my mind could wrap around, oh, these are angels. And so these messengers were angels to me. And maybe they are, I don't know. But I have had that come up where people are like, well, maybe that's your higher self that came to visit, and blah, 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 blah. So how do you look at angels, messengers, da, da, da? I know how Craig and I look at it, but I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And I feel whenever you get into this, hi, Dan, you begin to open up to other things. I was never like a religious person. I kind of had like a bone to pick with organized religion growing up, just innately. But so spirituality was kind of like weird for me at first. But, you know, as I experienced that love from these beings that said that they were my star family, and from God, from source, I began communicating with spirit guides and things like that. And I just started meditating, and suddenly, like, Jesus came to me. He's come to me a few times, and I was like, whoa, okay, he's real. And it's all connected. It's all connected. And then I started seeing angels and archangels and things like that. So yeah, I've had experiences with all of it. And some of the extraterrestrials are like so high vibe. They're more energetic than physical bodies, in different dimensions. But yeah, I've seen angels as well. And I love working with all of them.
Interesting. How would you distinguish between an extraterrestrial or an angel? What would define it for you?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a very like visual person, so I receive a lot of these images through the third eye. I'll see kind of like a movie playing out or an image. And sometimes the angels will just appear as light. They'll just look really bright. And they feel like unconditional love, just very calming, very close to source energy feeling. Or sometimes they'll show up, they'll kind of take whatever form, you're comfortable with. Also, I've had, Archangel Michael show up with his sword and everything, but so those are like higher dimensional beings, very, very close to source. And I believe a lot of them are helping us. And then like extraterrestrials, our guides and things like that, guiding us, sending us angel numbers, signs, and synchronicities. They'll help with healing, all of these things. And then the extraterrestrials some of them can look kind of angelic, but, they've lived in other star systems. They're closer to us, but a lot of them do feel, I know there's negative ones and positive ones. There's just like with humans, but the benevolent ones, they do feel like unconditional love as well.
I saw that question come up just then, and I think it's worth asking. When you had an encounter with Jesus, how did you know? Did he say, "I am Jesus," or did you just know?
Yeah, it's kind of like just a telepathic thing. But he showed up as like, he literally looked like, the image. If I were to think of Jesus in my mind, it looked kind of like that. He was like light though, really bright, but you can see some of his hair. He might have had some facial hair and in a robe, and it's just automatically knew this is Jesus. And he started telling me, this is through like a telepathic communication, just an understanding, that the return of Jesus will actually be Christ consciousness within all of us. That will be like the second coming. So he like clarified that for me and expressed that. And then I have a lot of respect for him. I love him. I love whenever I see him. He's come to visit me a few other times.
Wow.
Yeah, he's awesome. And I have heard that he actually has lived on Sirius before, is a starseed as well, which, could make sense why he came in with all of those heightened abilities. But
I think that's a whole topic on its own, to go down that one. Sorry, Sharnael, I know I'm asking a lot of questions here, but I'm really fascinated. So like, because traditionally, because as Sharnael was in ministry, I've grown up in a similar sort of religious background, and angels were always depicted as sort of like blonde hair, blue eyes, wings, sort of big muscly blokes, and I think when I think, I don't know, like, what do you call it? The Nordics, for example, it's kind of like a stereotypical, a bit like Sharnael, really, and yourself actually. But yeah, like, do you think? I mean, when you've seen angels, have you seen anything that's like specifically like the traditional sense, or did they have like a more of a Nordic look or anything like that?
Yeah, usually they look like, if you like kind of Google pictures of angels, a lot of times they'll look like that, like a robe. They may have wings. Sometimes it is just light, but also so they can depict themselves in whatever way is comfortable to you, whatever way you recognize it. So they can change their form into, all sorts of things. But yeah, often they will show up as kind of like winged, because that's typically what they're known for. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Or just light. Like I tell people through the guided activations that I do on my channel on Sundays, I guide people through an activation, and some people are beginning to have visions who normally wouldn't have visions before. They're working on their psychic abilities, and you may just see light. Like if you try meditating, you may just see a little kind of like a bright light or some colors, different colors. That's the beginning of like, that's an angel or some sort of a higher dimensional being. You don't have the full picture yet, but they can show up as kind of like colors and light, bright light too. Yeah.
I just have to mute because my German Shepherd was barking. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Oh, no wonder.
The communicating.
How did all of this change your like day-to-day talking with people once you've had that encounter. I mean, I think I could go into my integration, but I'm curious about yours, and like, tell me about that.
Yeah, it was very difficult for the first year. You know, nobody really believed me. And some of my family actually made fun of me, or they would get angry. This is about the UFO thing. And I'm like, but guys, seriously, like it's right there. They're coming. And then you kind of feel like you're going crazy. Because a lot of these things, they're very personal. So you may be the only one experiencing it. If it's not other people's time to experience it, they're just not gonna, know. So it was very hard at first. I was very secluded for the first year, and similar to how you said, Dr. Sharnael, I took a year basically off of everything and looked inward, and I was spending a lot of time stargazing, and the UFO thing began, but then also doing a lot of internal work. And that's when, I'll call it like my second spiritual awakening. And then I knew that they wanted me to share this footage and this information. It's become a lot more spiritual. At first, it was mostly about the evidence, capturing the evidence. Now it's more spiritual. And I share my experiences because many others are going to be having these experiences coming soon. Yeah, so I feel like I'm kind of like the guinea pig, like one of the beginning people. And so it got a lot better being able to share and meet other people. It's gotten so much better because now this is my complete life. Like, I quit my career as a nutritionist to pursue this because I knew it was going to be very, very, very important. This is going to change everything drastically.
Wholeheartedly agree. I'm totally fascinated with these things because I've always been into the weird and wonderful, even since being a little kid and stuff. And again, angels was always a big thing for me. Like, I'd research. I mean, I've been in church meetings. We may kind of criticize the church system and things like that, but there was some really, really interesting things happen. I mean, I've seen feathers appear in thin air in front of me, literally like just there. Like I didn't just notice them. I literally watched them form. And that was at a meeting. Thousands of us saw it. I've still got one of the feathers, actually. And do you have anything physical like that? And they brought anything physical for you to have at all?
Like anything that is kind of like manifested?
Yeah, anything like that, or anything that just anything like that you have that's like a record of what you've experienced.
I don't know if I have anything. Well, I've got a lot of the footage. That was a lot of it in the beginning, but they'll do the extraterrestrials too, your star family, and the angels. They'll do things that are like, did I just see that? you know, like a feather manifesting. I had a friend who I had a pendulum with me, and I went over to his house. I always kept this thing right on me. It vanished while I was there. We looked everywhere for it. I went back over to his house 2 months later. I sat down on his couch, looked over, the pendulum was there again. And he even he dropped a piece of cheese in his apartment, and as it was falling down, it just disappeared. It never hit the floor.
Love it.
So weird things like that can happen.
I have a lot of that in my book too. I have the contact experience, and then all the crazy stuff that's happened after, including like bilocation and things like that I wasn't even trying to do, that just started to happen naturally, where people would contact me and say, oh, we saw you at the da-da-da and you gave us this card with your name on it and talked to us and blah blah blah. And I was like, I wasn't there. And they're like, no. And they did have a card with my writing on it and showed me, and my personal cell phone and everything. And I was just like, or my personal phone number. And I was not there. I was physically in Montana at the time, but they saw me in Tennessee. So, I'm missing stuff show up. I've had missing, just they've given it back or found it or relocated items from one place to my house from another place. I mean, it's been really interesting. But you described the inner spiritual work, and that can look like a billion times a billion things. What does inner spiritual work look like for you specifically? Just, I'm curious what that means to you.
Well, there was a huge transformation that was taking place. My plan was to help fuel like a revolution with nutrition and mental health. And I was actually creating content on that and teaching people nutrition, health tips, mental health. So I was already very much into like personal development. And then once COVID happened and the UFOs started appearing, that was just all ripped away, like just a huge transformation. I didn't know who I was anymore. The things that I was so passionate about before, I just couldn't even bring myself to do it. So that was kind of weird, but I feel like that may happen to a lot of people. So hopefully this may be, helpful. You're becoming like a totally different. You're still you, but we're just going through a big transformation right now. And it's okay. So for a year, I was trying to figure out, who I was and also being comfortable with talking about these things. And then also I had to work through a lot of childhood trauma. And then you throw after the star beings, they showed me a few times different past lives that were very traumatic that were still affecting me. Like one example, I had been burned at the stake as a witch in Europe in medieval times. Like I saw the vision of it. I felt it. I don't know how you guys feel about like past parallel lives, but they showed,
Go for it.
Okay. Yeah. They
memory. Like we've all done, everyone's been everyone because of DNA genetics. So, but yes, keep going.
Yeah. So that blew my mind. But so working through having to heal some traumas from even parallel or past lifetimes, childhood traumas. I had to work through like codependency issues, confidence issues, all of these different things.
But how is what I'm saying? Like what spirit, like when you say doing inner work, does that mean you sit in a room for 12 hours and meditate, or you put a crystal in your ear? You know what I mean? Like very specific, like what work are you doing? I'd like to know. Like, I think they want to know too, but go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. So journaling and writing is a really good one. If there's anything that's bothering you or that, you're struggling with, journaling about it is actually very, very helpful. Doing research, like if there was something that happened to me or something that was really bothering me, I would ask why. Why did this happen? Why is this, the last guy friend I got screwed over. I'm like, okay, why did that, happen? And then I dug and then I started working on healing like inner childhood trauma and things like that. Because everything happens to us, for a reason. So just being very open with yourself, kind of going back through your childhood is probably a good idea because a lot of us have traumatic experiences from that. Meditation, and what's really been beneficial is working with the chakras, because there's a chakra for, if you have a difficult time communicating or expressing yourself or being your authentic self, you may not even know who you are, or just creative expression. It's in your throat. If you can't talk up, if you can't speak up, it's in your throat. So just working on your throat chakra. I was blown away.
Your throat chakra, like for example, like that's what I'm talking about. Details here. Give me details. How do you work on your throat?
Okay, I'll tell you exactly how I did it. So there was a period in the beginning where I went through every single chakra. I started from the bottom, the root chakra. I researched, okay, what does the root chakra do? How may mine be blocked? So I did a little bit of research on it. I watched YouTube videos on root chakra affirmations, and I did root chakra meditation, and I focused each day on it for at least a few days, maybe up to a week. I went really in depth on every single chakra. So you can do meditations on it, affirmations on it, researching about it, and energy healing work. Also, you can visualize, your root chakra. It may be kind of like dim, and that's your sense of safety, stability. That's where fear comes in, and emotional issues in your sense of security. So yeah, you can visualize it or get a Reiki session from somebody, but visualize it. May be dim, it may be blocked. Visualize all that coming out of it, and it opening, it balancing. So that's personally how I did it. And by the time I got to the throat chakra, I felt like a brand new person, like transformed. So I swear by the chakras.
I see the bowls there too. Like, did you use any of that in your toolbook? Like obviously, I mean, you have some beautiful bowls back there.
Thank you. Yeah. So I didn't have these yet, but frequency does help. So you could look up like root chakra frequency. Actually, I listen to frequency music almost like 24/7. That's a really good way to help balance and harmonize.
I'm the same. Yeah.
That's so good.
Because I'm going to plug my channel a little bit here, Sharnael, because I've actually got a video. I do a bit of meditation music and stuff using frequencies, but I did one video that was literally the frequency for each chakra, and it lasts about an hour or something. So you can just sit in that, and it will. Because what very similar to you, what I would do is I would go through the chakras, and if there was an issue or something came up or whatever, is you focus on that chakra and you just release healing and love and embrace it and say you're perfect, you're healed, you're whole, and it just eradicates that crap basically. But yeah, I would also use the frequencies and just hone in on that chakra and just love on it, and it heals it, and it rids it of all the rubbish. So yeah, love that, all about that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And frequency, that's another big thing that they taught me, and spirituality has taught me. Like,
that's a good point.
Frequency is everything. So whatever you're experiencing, that's a frequency. The different illnesses, frequencies. So there's a frequency for everything, and then it makes it kind of less like, it makes it less kind of like personal. Like, it's not anything like wrong. It's just this frequency. So you just need to, raise the frequency. So yeah, that's very helpful. And yeah, I just love what you said about how the frequency music, and then love. That was the other thing I wanted to mention. Love heals all. It heals all. Feeling that love. That's why I'm sure you guys have had spiritual experiences where you're just bawling your eyes out because it's just so full of love.
I call it love leaks. Yeah. It's when you're just so full that like there isn't any room left in the body, and it just starts coming out through the tears. Yeah. It's interesting. And for people who are asking, there's been 3 or 4 people asking about the name of your channel. It's in the links, you guys, if you want to check it. And also Craig's channel is in the link. And I encourage you guys to go for sure and subscribe, hit that subscribe and get on their channels, because there's some really good content on both of these channels set for these guys here. So yeah, check that out. Yeah. And someone's saying, can you put it in the link? It's definitely in, it should be in here. And if it's not, we'll make sure to add both, but I'm pretty sure they're in the bios there. Great.
And my channel's it's called Lily Nova Starseed. So
yes, and Craig's Ascension Meditation.
Yeah, and there's about 5 million Ascension meditations, but I don't know.
Like from Craig's Galactic Universal blah 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 or something.
Yeah. No, what I love about this, Lily, is it's what I find as well is when there's some form of contact or an experience, it will often precede a deep spiritual healing. I've found in my own experience. So, what people that claim to have experiences, but they're not growing spiritually, I'm like, how do you do that? Because when I have an experience or an encounter or something happens, I will go. It's like waves. I'll go through a process. Then I've got to deal with something or heal something. And then I'll be like, I've reached where I need to be, and then it'll happen again, and then there'll be something else, it seems to be. But I think it goes hand in hand, doesn't it? Kind of like loads of people, I'd love to see an extraterrestrial or an angel. I'd love to be abducted or whatever, blah blah blah, all this kind of stuff. No, but like there's also the coincides with the inner work as well. Like if you're not doing the inner work, you're sabotaging yourself. You're sabotaging your own experience, I believe. And that's why I think when we have these discussions, we all love the fancy stories, but sometimes it gets dirty. Sometimes it gets messy. It is messy. And that's okay. It's okay to be messy, and it's okay to fall apart, because, you'll be rebuilt again.
Yeah. I feel like you kind of have to, at least in my experience, you kind of have to fall apart and just, hit that rock bottom to just completely transform. That's happened twice in my life.
Only twice.
Well, two major ones in having the spiritual experience really it's life changing.
Yeah.
I feel like there definitely is like an integration period too after some of this. It's just like, because were you like super emotional about every single thing, like just everything kind of just triggering and sad and like happy and like grateful, but also just it was explain that a little bit as far as on the emotions.
Well, mine was kind of messy. I went straight in for the big dirty work.
That's why jumping at the deep end.
Yeah, I jumped right in. There was probably like weeks, possibly even months, where I spent a lot of time just meditating and crying in my bed, healing, and just working on things. And I do feel like you do get pretty emotional, and also the contrast. Usually, right before you get up to that next level or something really great happens in your life, it gets really low, or you feel that contrast. So whenever people are maybe having a hard time, like, don't worry, it's about to get a whole lot better. But yeah, definitely very emotional. There's a lot of emotions that I found that are also like kind of trapped in our body. So we're releasing those also.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
It is.
Good point.
Sorry. Should I go on, Sharnael? Sorry.
No, go ahead. I'll have it.
I was just going to say, sorry. Well, no, I don't apologize for it. But a Bible verse that always used to make me go, "What?" was in James, where it says, "Consider it pure joy when you encounter various trials." And I was like, "How could you count that as joy?" But it's because when you encounter these things or something happens to you, it's bringing stuff out, and there's a healing going on. So it is as hard as it can be at times, there is a joy there, knowing that you're going through a process of healing. I mean, the dark night of the soul, I think somebody commented that. Yeah. I've lost count how many I've had. It's ridiculous. But there is a joy in that, knowing I'm moving forward and I'm growing and I'm being set up for more. So I just want to make that comment.
Yeah.
We just had this talk on an inbox message thing about dark and light, and that's a universal thing too, and how they work together. And as painful as stuff can be, just like what Craig said, it's useful, and that it ignites something within, and those triggers can come up, and we can either suppress them and oppress them and ignore them or deny them or whatever, and not cry and not deal with it, and or we can express and move through it and bring look at it as a gift to heal, like Craig was saying. My mentor, and I've said this before, he always says a gift that isn't received becomes a burden. And so if we don't look at every single thing as really hard, to be in a different perspective as, okay, what am I learning here? What's the lesson? How do I move through this? And asking those questions within, being able to see it from like maybe a further back lens, instead of being reactive and, taking everything so personal of all the stuff that's going on, of just being like, okay, we're just characters, we're just having this experience, we're just playing these roles, we're here to learn to love, we're here to remember love. And that's an opportunity for us. It's we all have that same choice and opportunity, and then making choices differently from there on, right? But it's just and that's why I'm like getting to the nitty gritty here and asking like for the details, because I think spiritual work is like, the inner work is like, that's all thrown around. But what I get all the time is people are saying, but how? Like, what does that mean? You know, like, what do you're sitting, you go to a retreat, you drink a certain juice, or whatever.
Himalayas and meditate for the next 3 years.
Yeah, I think it's very holistic. And I learned that with health and nutrition. There's different parts to it. Doing something, being compassionate with yourself, not being hard on yourself is a big one. I'll be kind of cussing myself out in the head sometimes, or, and I have to remember, my guides nudge me, like, be compassionate with yourself, give yourself love.
Yeah. It's
okay. And so being compassionate with yourself, you could look into shadow work, figuring out what your shadows are and working through those frequencies, and doing something that you enjoy also. That's actually one of the biggest things that Source told me. I asked, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? What do I do? And, what's the most valuable thing that I can do? And the answer I received was follow your bliss. And it's so simple, but I was like, really? And then that's what I focus on, is following my bliss. And then everything else aligns, is what I found.
Well, you come from a health and nutrition, and I'm a naturopath too. What part of diet fits in this whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh, and someone else is asking, explain shadow work. I was going to say it, but I was told that I was rude a little while ago when I asked for details. So sorry about that. I'm not being rude. I'm just curious. But anyway, explain shadow work too, but go back to health.
Okay. With health, so, we are what we eat. We're made out of what we eat. Our body's going through a lot with raising the vibration, releasing all of these. We have a lot of toxins too. In releasing all of these emotions, raising our vibration. So eating more raw, natural foods, eating more fruits and vegetables, anti-inflammatory foods.
Yes.
Antioxidants. So fruits and vegetables, and a really good way to just get your fruits and veggies in is making a smoothie in the morning with frozen fruit and frozen vegetables. It's so easy, and you can add some supplements to it too, and then boom, there you go. But
Could you blend a steak with that as well?
What's that?
Blend a steak with it. I'm joking.
Maybe some protein powder or peanut butter.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Peanut butter, yes. Steak, yeah. I like steak, but not in my smoothie.
Yeah.
During fasting times, I've been tempted to whatever can I get in the smoothie for my fast. Have you guys fasted? Has anyone on here fasted? I'm curious about fasting. Have you? No, you haven't.
But I have heard good things. I've heard good things. People having spiritual experiences while they're fasting also.
Yeah, I on a regular basis throughout the week, because I go to the gym 5 days a week, I will I stop eating at 7 and I'll have 12 hours fasted. Then I'll cycle on an empty stomach, and then I'll eat something and then lift weight in the morning.
Wow.
So I technically fast every day, but an extended fast.
Like intermittent, yeah.
Yeah, I intermittently fast, and honestly, it works for me because I can put weight on quite easy. You see, which is good for muscle building, but not great for anything else. So yeah, I intermittent fast because it works for me. Yeah, and keeping my carbs down, if that helps anybody else out there.
My longest fast was 27 days.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Did you lose any weight?
I want to say 8 pounds, but it wasn't to do that. It wasn't wasn't the goal. But yeah, I had a lot come through that. There was very, very. As a matter of fact, I should do this again. I used to do it every January, and I never put I'm going to do this 27 days. It wasn't like that. It was that I was just going to do this for a day. And then I'm like, well, I did pretty good. I'm going to go for 3 days. And then I did 3 days. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not sucking at this. Let's see about 7. And that way I didn't I didn't want to put like a label on how long I was going to do it, because probably my ego didn't want to fail and then be like, oh, you suck. But, so I was just having grace. My Virgo energy is like very like do. So I was trying to like do the opposite of just like go with the flow kind of thing. And it ended up being 27 days, and I wasn't sad about ending it. And it was very big for me to just go with the flow, and it's the opposite of what I normally am. But that may be something to do, or juicing, but I love your background is so that the merging of all the things, the crystals, the frequency, it's kind of like what our whole bag is, right? Right, Craig?
Absolutely. And people think, oh, nutrition is just about your body and stuff. It's not. It is a very spiritual thing as well. If you've got a bad diet, it affects your whole being. And so, knowing what's good for you, and obviously everybody's body's different. I think there are general rules for everyone, obviously, but I think you've got to find what's right for you. And yes, so if people think, oh, this isn't spiritual, it absolutely is. You will feel better. You'll be higher. Like I say, your vibration will be higher if you're healthy. And obviously we all know about health, particularly over the past couple of years, and what they're trying to do to people. So there's never a better time than to get into this kind of stuff, really.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And so you are what you eat. It impacts how you feel, think, and act. Everything. It impacts everything, and your health, your mental health. And in order to follow your bliss and feel good and raise your vibration, you need to, be fueling yourself, right? Because the vitamins and minerals, they do different, like deficiencies in vitamin D and magnesium, which 75% of the population is deficient in those two. That can cause pain, issues, anxiety, sleeplessness, depression, like sad seasonal depression. It's because people aren't getting vitamin D because they're not outside in the sun.
Absolutely.
So it's incredible how much just those little things impact us.
Well, go ahead.
I was just going to go on. I was going to sort of shift it a little bit there, but if you've got something to say on that, you go.
I was just going to give a shout out to Dr. Whip. He's on here. Love Dr. Whip. He is amazing, a friend and co-worker. And also Matthew's on the show today. I want to say hey to Matthew. We love Matthew. Everybody
Matthew Mornian. We love Matthew.
Yeah. And also just a shout out to Lisa, Sandra, Annette, Kathy's on here, Jess, lots of Stacy, lots of beautiful members here. Veronica is new with us. We have a new member, Rhonda. So yeah, I just thank you so much for helping us to be able to do this. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to keep going. Stephanie, Annette, lots of amazing, beautiful, bright, radiant people in our community that are all hanging out with us today. So yes, one person's asking specifically about shadow work again. Everyone, they're curious about the shadow work stuff, but yes.
Here we go.
What were you gonna say? I don't want to miss
well,
out.
I think if on shadow work, my interpretation of it is we all have parts of ourselves that I don't want to say we don't like, but that we try and hide, and that we suppress, and we're taught in the world, be a nice person and act a certain way and this, that, and the other, and that's okay. I'm not knocking that, but what we do is we suppress these. Sometimes we feel angry. Sometimes we want to knock someone's head off. Sometimes, these things happen. And what to me shadow work is fully integrating all of that and saying, okay, I feel like this. I accept it. I don't suppress this anymore, and I embrace this side of me and bring it into love again, as we spoke about before, and heal it and let it be a part of you without controlling you. That's something that I would say about shadow work, but I'd love to hear what you guys think as well.
No, yeah, that was great. A lot of the time, like the shadow it is us. It's still a part of us. Things like how you said that you may not like about yourself, or you may try to suppress or hide. And then it gets worse whenever you try to kind of resist or suppress your shadow. It just makes it grow. So you really have to be open with yourself and kind of integrate integrate those things about you. You are the way that you are. Everybody's special. Everybody's unique. And then there's also so that's a really good like summarization, but then there's also like shadow work things that you can look up online, like little activities to help you integrate those things and work through those things. So I would suggest that. Writing. Yeah.
That's really good.
So that's what was that? I missed that. Sorry. Say that again.
I was going to say writing and journaling also
Yeah.
is very, very powerful. And there was something that I did a while back that helped so much. Writing a letter to, it could be yourself, writing a letter to a family member, or writing a letter to whatever, something that you're struggling with, writing a letter, explaining it, and then you burn it afterwards. And that's actually very powerful.
I like that. What a great tool. I love that. I don't know if I've written a letter to someone, but I have done every, and we're coming up on that as the new year. I usually write things that I want to let go. And I do that list, and then I burn it too as like a symbolic
ceremony.
Yeah. But the letter thing, I haven't thought about that. That's such a good, I need to do that to 2 people today. Like I am literally seriously going to do that tonight. But thank you for that. That's a good tip.
Yeah, no problem. It's crazy how much lighter you feel afterwards. And also, so the activations that I do on my channel, we do different themes each week. And we actually did like a cord cutting and clearing ceremony where I guided everybody through an activation, and we wrote all of those things and tossed it into the fire, and the fire like purified us. So I do activations each week covering different things that can help a lot.
I love it. Maybe we can do that on our membership thing when you come on January.
Oh, you're coming on the membership? That's brilliant.
Yeah, we can all have like a little workshop where we write down all the stuff, and then we do like a live burn.
That would be awesome.
Don't set anyone's house on fire, whatever you do.
I'm loving this idea. As we go, we're just coming up with this. I'm curious too, the pictures that you took. Is there somewhere we can see this photography or in these images? Is that on your website, or is that anywhere we can go look at it? I want to see now.
Yeah, I want to start posting more of my footage and things, but on my website, lilynovaspaceart.com, I actually have a bunch of my pictures as like prints and digital downloads. So you can like make it your screensaver. So some of them are on my website, and some of them are on my Instagram as well.
Okay. Yeah. And your Instagram is also Lily Nova, yes?
Yeah, lilynova.in.space. So Lily Nova in space, yeah.
Love it.
I love it. Well, I'm just looking at the clock, and I'm like, I can't.
Have we got some missing time again?
What? Yes. Well, as we close for today, if we could just go around, obviously you guys can find me at swiftfire.org, my book. I have an app that has all the crystals, and my card deck is on my app. I have my card deck on my website. Lots of resources, swiftfire.org. We're actually rebranding and redoing the website as we speak. So there's going to be a new launch probably in January with that, but definitely check that out. Do share. If you'd like to be a member, please get on board with membership. The link should be here, and if it's not, I'll put it in the comments. But where can we fund you two? Because this is just awesome, and I'm really excited about us getting to know each other more, Lily, because you are so pure-hearted, and I just love your purity and just such an innocence with your heart, and the highest compliment. Just pureness and authenticity is really, really a big deal for us on this channel, and people who focus on light and focus on the good things. And I love how you use your platform for that. Like, there's a lot of people using it for different things and focusing on the negative. And I like to whatever you focus on, you make room for. So we focus on tools to help people to get to their best and their highest. And you are such an embodiment of that. You are a walking example of that. and I am just honored to have you here. And so where can people find you? Let's get everyone connected to Lily.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, that's what my channel is. So my YouTube channel is Lily Nova Starseed. And hi, Beth. I recognize Beth. And so I do live activations each week. We get together as a group. The replays still work if you can't make it live, but we do different things. I'll channel different, sometimes angels, sometimes star beings, and do these activations each week, and then also have interviews on my channel as well. So I would love to have you guys over there. The activations are Sundays at 2 p.m. Central Time. I think we're going to do Sirius Star this weekend. Last week we did the Akashic Records and the Arcturians, which they're just master healers. They're wonderful. So Lily Nova Starseed, my website is lilynovaspaceart.com. And then on Instagram and TikTok, I'm lilynova.in.space.
Awesome. And you have some cool merch too. Hold up your mug. And yeah, I love all your stuff. She's got such great branding. I just think it's so cute.
Yeah, I've got so that's on lilynovaspaceart.com. I have all different star origins.
Cool.
Star origins hoodies, Syrian, Pleiadian, all that stuff, starseed stuff. So yeah, I've been having fun designing stuff.
Brilliant.
I love it.
Yeah.
I've just realised that Beth Noise that keeps commenting, she's on Journey to Truth this week. I think it's her.
Beth is?
Yeah, I've just now.
Beth, how's it going?
Beth, I'm sure she's on Journey to Truth this week, so I look forward to that one.
Yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong.
Too. I would love
There's another Beth, but I just wanted to finish off with just sort of summarising and re-emphasising that we all want to take our place in the grand scheme of the cosmos and all this and raising our vibration is how we're going to do it. It's not going to happen just because we're sat on the couch, everything stays the same, and one day it's just going to happen. No, we have to do this inwardly and outwardly. So when we talk about spirituality, we're talking about we're going somewhere and something's going on here so big on the planet at the moment. It's like a massive healing, and it's causing a lot of chaos, no question about it, in the systems and the structures that have kept us suppressed. But it's a really, really exciting time. So Lily really sort of embodies kind of like that perfect balance between having contact, but also doing the inner healing, the inner work, and just for everyone just to keep going, because we're really, really pressing into some massive things here, and it's very exciting.
Yes.
So if I could just plug my channel, Ascension Meditation, because I'm determined to get to 1,000 subscribers so I can monetize it.
Yes.
So if people could give that a subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
I agree. Both of you, all you guys, definitely go to both of these guys and connect. And yeah, I mean, know thyself is huge for sure. And I know Lily has mentioned that, and maybe not this one, but somewhere I saw you say that. But the other thing is sometimes, knowledge is great, but applying knowledge is another thing. We can all talk about it, like sit on the couch and envision it, and the imagination is powerful. But the actual work is when you take that knowledge and then you're faced with the person, or faced with the situation at work, or faced with the thing with your kids, and then you actually use it and make it, you imply it, you embody it, and you implement it in action. And I find that that you're healing when you're in a situation that would normally cause you to react, but instead of reacting, all of a sudden you feel different. You could feel yourself respond with love and calmness instead of like this charge that can sometimes happen in reaction. And that's a biggie. That's how you know that something has shifted. And I know this last 3 years for me, and many, many people that I've spoken with have had lots of opportunities for charging and reacting. And just like in medicine, if you speak with someone and you're like, well, did you have a good response, or did you have a reaction? Reaction means, rash and, fungi, whatever, like a bad thing, and response would be like it's working and you're harmonizing, you're integrating. So we each have that opportunity, no matter what comes on your plate, no matter what anyone is going through. I mean, I've had 2 deaths in 2 days at 2 o'clock. What the F does that mean? I don't know. But I am not going to overlook that. I'm going to dig in and see, like, what is this about? And I'm going to cry, but I'm not going to cry. Well, you know what? I might get off and just go in my bed and cry. But all that being said, you know, with people being ill, with things, you know, people just dropping, with, you know, each and every choice, with people, narcissistic behaviors, with, you know, friendships, with different ways people do things or see things. There's a lot of opportunity for a reaction or response right now. And to me, the work is not just knowing what to do, but doing it and living it and embodying it. And I love both of you so much. And so many of you who are on today, I have got the pleasure of connecting with you in the groups when we meet with our channel. And I'm seeing that in you. And I think we're all finding each other through this, and we're working with each other. And it's just so beautiful that we found you in this season. And I'm really excited about that. So hopefully this was helpful to you guys. Again, we'll be together on Sunday at noon. She's got her thing at 2 o'clock. So just mark off Sunday as a time for inner work. And yeah, next week we have Anthony Stewart, like I mentioned earlier, and the following week we have Laura Eisenhower for winter solstice. We're going to talk about that. So you guys just think about it. Mark your calendar for every Thursday noon, and we will see you next week, Thursday. Go to swiftfire.org. Love you guys so much, and have a wonderful day, everybody. Sending all of you good vibes, sending all of you my whole heart love for everyone. Please pray for my mom and dad. That's all I'm going to say. Love you guys.